Welcome everyone, this is Five Needles and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at lasers and LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Sanswinda,
Hello.
Guarendis,
Hello, everyone.
and Krister.
Hello.
Hello everyone, and this week we are going to be talking about the Update 33.1 Bullroarer notes because they follow on the heels of the producer's letter from last week. So let's see what's in this, our first update that is going to be following the producer's letter. And this was Update 33.1 Beta number 1. It is now closed because they hold the betas usually from Wednesday to Friday or Tuesday to Thursday, depending on when they get things up. And that there was a player database wipe for this beta. So when they have the next beta up, if you decide to try to participate into that, you will need to either create new characters or copy over characters, I really should say, from the main worlds. And what we have in this one are the further adventures. Yes, players can start the further adventures of Eladan and Elro here by talking to Elrond in his library in Rivendell. Rewards can be exchanged with Celebrier outside the last homely house. So you can
Wonder Twins activate.
Wonder Twins activate?
Sorry.
Form of Lembus.
Yes, so we'll have to see what the further adventures are of the Wonder Twins. I think I'm going to hold off on doing this until it actually makes the main worlds. So I have not actually seen how it goes yet. Some things that I just like, especially ones that are story related, where I like to save them off for the main update rather than doing them when they're first in the beta area. And also note that while Berthodon, the legendary server difficulty NPC, is available on Borer, we ask that he only be used to set copied characters from Shadowfax and Treebeard back to normal difficulty. In other words, he is present on Borer, but they're asking you not to use him in order to set the difficulty level on Borer. I'm not too sure what would happen if you attempt to do so, but I have a feeling that the devs would probably not want to know. Let's then head into the release notes. For classes, the Brawler tanking has had some significant issues, and we have wanted to build a more distinct role for them as tanks in comparison with their fellows. 3 issues that they wanted to address in particular. First off, the class had stacking incoming damage buffs that could render them effectively immune to damage for limited windows in concert with group buffs. While amusing, this was rather game-breaking in certain encounters. They had trouble managing aggro in fights with many mobs, and as tanks, they lacked a clearly defined role compared with others. We've decided to focus on the Brawler's role towards being an offensive support tank. This doesn't mean that they are a DPS tank hybrid. They are not focused on the personal damage to the detriment of their own defenses. Rather, their personal defense is intended to remain quite strong, but their buffs now focus on their ability to improve the group's damage output more than any other tank. In particular, to open up a major burst window against bosses, or adds the need to be eliminated as quickly as possible. Now, I thought that captains could be burst tanks like that by bringing out Oathbreakers, or is that something they can't do while they're in tanking stance?
We couldn't trade Oathbreakers in tank.
Okay, so something that you have to go deep into another tree in order to have it?
Yeah, I mean, if they keep raising the cap on trade points, then eventually you could potentially do that. So,
Oh,
but not capable
okay.
now.
Then Oathbreakers isn't a capstone or anything like that. Then,
Right.
all right.
Hey, so this sounds more like a boxer than a brawler to me, though. A brawler is exactly who I would think that wouldn't use tactics. They would throw their mug, and then they rush in with no defenses whatsoever and start swinging like a wild crazy person. So
I mean,
don't
that's
know.
kind of how I play mine, but just
That's a red line brawler.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say a blue line brawler is probably more of a boxer.
Well,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying is that leaves the brawler realm for me and starts entering the boxing realm. That's the sweet science.
Bob and weave.
Yes, and I think that sort of makes sense. I mean, Terry Adwin even picked up on that theme by calling her brawler tiny boxer. And anyway, I would think that the gloves that brawlers wear is almost more of a boxing realm than a brawler thing. In any case, though, I guess maybe
You wear yours all the time and you know it. You can't drive, you can't eat, you can't.
It's so hard to scratch your nose.
Yes, let's go and have a look at what the specific changes are. Weather Blows is now an incoming damage set effect that will no longer stack with other incoming damage buffs. Its base value is 35%, minus 6% for trait, minus 9% for metal, max 20%. It lasts 15 seconds with a 75-second cooldown. Note that this still acts as a separate multiplier from standard armor damage mitigation. I really should have compared that more to what it is currently doing. Oh, hold on. Incoming damage set effect. Oh, it doesn't do healing anymore, it sounds like that. Oh. Yeah, okay. Right, because that is a skill that I really depend on and when I get low in morale.
Oh
So,
boy, okay.
yeah. Because let's heal myself so that I could have a little bit more room to breathe or something like that. So that's going to have trouble getting used to that one. Gut Punch no longer reduces the target's outgoing damage, but now increases incoming damage by 20% for 20 seconds. The skill has a short cooldown, but a given target cannot be affected by it for 70 seconds after the effect wears off. Now increases the incoming damage. Oh, okay, so now instead of reducing the damage that the opponent does, it increases my damage to the opponent after I do a gut punch. Well, I haven't used gut punch all that much. I think what I really should do is the next time Bulwer is up is go and test all these things. I should have thought about testing the brawler line on Bulwer. And the Iron Will skill was redundant to Weather Blows. It has been replaced by the Best Defense. This skill buffs the Fellowship's damage by 30% for 15 seconds and has a 120-second cooldown.
Oh.
Come at Me base target damage has an increased duration. Oh, damage is from 5 to 10. Come at Me taunt duration increased from 5 seconds to 10 seconds. And Come at Me is now fast rather than immediate to mitigate a skill cancellation issue encountered during periods of lag.
That's the AoE taunt that we have.
Okay.
And tank line.
Yeah, that's what Come at Me sounds like it's going to be. But I am not as familiar with the differences between fast and immediate in buffs in LOTRO. I mean,
Immediate sounds faster than fast.
Yes. Well, I guess we'll have to find out. Brash Invitation's range is increased from 25 to 40 meters. Vulnerabilities based debuff is increased from 1% to 3%. Item set bonus to the effect has been increased similarly. Most brawler group buffs will now affect raid members.
Oh, good. So they're raid wide, not just your.
Yeah. Most brawlers group buffs now have a radius of 15 meters instead of 10. Many brawler buffs we're still using a placeholder one. Many of them have been replaced with more diverse set of effect icons for clarity, right? Innate strength buffs use shorter animations from 1.5 seconds to 1 second. Several other buffs have had their animations shortened or reduced to FX only. And the instant heal component of weather blows has been moved to bracing guard. Okay, that's the thing where I said the healing thing was removed. That. So I'm trying to remember where bracing guard is, and
That's the one that looks like a shield, like a character holding a great big shield in front of them.
okay, that's the one that looks. All right,
It
so I have to.
already gives a tiered up healing buff. I would presume that it's improving it. I don't know.
Well, it's now giving it. It looks like it's getting also an instant heal component with it. I haven't used bracing guard all that much, but obviously I'm going to have to get used to using that since that's going to be the heal that I'll be using. I'm sure for the first while I'm going to be, after the update, I'm going to be hitting weather blows and wondering why am I not getting healed. And Follow Me is no longer an attack speed buff. It is now a group combat run speed buff, increasing speed by 20% for 15 seconds. All right. Probably not as.
I mean, well, the hunters are on all the time as long as you're not in combat. But I was going to say that almost reminds me of the Bjornies has a little speed boost they can give, but I think it's only to themselves. So maybe it's more like kind of like that, but group wide.
Yes, and this is in fact, I think the first time I read the skill, especially when you look at the icon that the skill has, I thought the natural thing for it to be was a run speed buff. So I was surprised that it was a combat that it was a
attack duration
instead. But so it looks like they are turning it into something that's more logical to what it's called and its icon. Though I do remember that when we were doing the Rimmercant raids, I would cycle through the buffs like that one in order to do it. Obviously, it's not going to be as useful in the Rimmercant. And not Rimmercant, it was, Hidden Horde. It's not going to be useful as for that during a static fight as it was during as the old version of what it did. The combat, the attack speed buff. Bellicose traded and come at me will now generate metal even if no targets are hit. Fist of the Valor base damage increased to be more in line with other metal spenders. Alright. And the Brawler's Armor of Nature Strikes set now generates a 2-piece bonus of 5% to melee damage rather than an offhand bonus which brawlers cannot benefit from. Oh yeah, I guess they don't get it.
That was pretty cruel.
That was pretty cruel for the
cruel setup. That's awesome.
Okay, yeah, I could understand why they would want to fix that. For Monster Play is now free to all players. Remember, this is still in beta. To create a monster player, you will need to have reached level 2 on any character.
Do not 10.
Yeah.
That smacks of effort.
Yeah. So that makes it very easy now in order to get set up to be able to run Monster Play on it, because no longer have to be. What was the old rule concerning that? Was it VIP only, or was it that
It's VIP only. And wasn't it level 10?
Level
Like
20.
the epic battles? Level 20. I was gonna say, I'd like
We had to
I knew
get-
that epic battles is 10, never mind.
You had to get a free character to level 20, and then you could create a monster character.
all right? So that lowers the bar then in being able to play a monster now.
So,
It-
I would say the monster players couldn't make all the monster classes, but it was playing as a free character, a free that required VIP, I'm pretty sure.
okay, that sounds more like what I was thinking.
Monsters
Is
could be, I think they could just be Reavers unless they bought one of the other classes.
Yeah.
So
okay,
I'm not
yeah,
sure how this is different unless all the monsters are now free to everybody.
I
yes,
think
that
all
is
the
the next
monsters
thing.
are.
So,
Yes,
Okay,
that yeah, there is another article that they have in here where they announce that now that they're making PvP classes free. Yeah, so they're saying that all PvP classes are free upon reaching level 2.
and so then does this mean there's still a paywall if you want to be a free character on the Moors?
Ah, you mean the free peoples?
Right, like if you want to be fighting as an elf, man, hobbit, dwarf.
Yeah, all these things they're talking about are related to yes to the monsters. Actually, let me go and jump for the moment to the separate article. There's a link to that inside of the release notes. It says, in the 3 months since I teased changes to Monster Play, I went quiet, head down, and hands on keyboard. And while not everything I wanted to do is complete, I do have some items to share with you about the changes coming to the Entmoors. The Entmoors occupied a niche role. It is not and never will be the focal point of the game. It is, however, an important piece of the greater whole that sets the Lord of the Rings Online apart from other MMOs. Monster Play is at a crossroads. We need to solidify its place in the game and give it opportunity to thrive before making a final decision on how it might be supported moving forward. Finding Monster Play's future role in the game is not easy. Not every player is invested in the experience, you mean like me, and some flat out recoil at the mention of PvP. That's probably almost me, but those that engage deeply into the experience have done so loyally for a very, very long time. I don't know where Sans fits in on that section.
Casually.
Casual, that's right. So you're in the casual in-between zone for it then.
Yes.
All right. After many conversations with Reninia and Severlin, the direction I wanted to became clearer. The intent with the upcoming changes is to supply support to Monster Play to ensure that it still is another reason to keep playing and a reason to come back. And here are the changes that they have. First of all, Monster Play is free for all, as I mentioned before. It's going to be free to all players, continuing on the success of the 15th anniversary. Once you gain level 2 on any Free People's character, just return to the character generation screen and make any Monster Player character you want. One Player Defiler, free. War Leader, free. All PvP classes will be free upon reaching level 2. Monster Player classes updated. Now that we're making PvP classes free, we need to make the classes more accessible and viable at the onset. Meaning the changes to the initial skill loadouts for all monster classes. The changes focus on providing a better spread of skills more indicative of class gameplay. Each class now starts with 8 skills, giving them a better interaction against creeps. How many do they start out with now?
Like the typical ones for free players, like 2, maybe 3. Sometimes
Alright.
1.
So doubling or tripling than the number that you had before. And rank requirements, while still an important aspect of monster advancement, for monster player skills are reduced to a max rank of 5 for all monster classes. This change should make it easier to attain full realized monster play characters. And to further incentivize monster play, we are adjusting the first quests and accomplishments to reward the map to Gramfoot, a necessity to the monster player experience, and adding updated accomplishment rewards to provide monster players with 4 items that grant a rank of Audacity each.
Nice.
And we've also increased the amount of combinations an account can carry to 20,000 and added a set of tasks unique to defeating enemies throughout the Entmoors to inspire more battles. All right. And any other comments on what I've said so far?
Well, you know
Sounds
what I'd like
good.
to see. They should add that if the creeps try hard enough, that they can breach the guards and get into Middle Earth.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do that. But
Oh,
that might
see,
be
that
their
would be
best
awesome.
chance of encountering free players on some of the servers. Like,
See,
some
I
of the
think
servers
that's
are
what you'd
really
get
just creep playgrounds in the monster versus the MP zones because the free
I bet you'd have a
characters.
massive surge of monster players, though. if they
Right,
do
but the
think
free
they could-
characters are still behind a paywall as far as I can tell. Which means that you can have, like, massive amounts of monster players potentially with no one to oppose them. So this
Right?
is
Wouldn't that
sounding
be? But
interesting.
Sans, wouldn't that be like Middle Earth though? Wouldn't that be more like a more authentic Middle Earth? You know, you go outside Bree, you're terrified, you're going to die at any moment because orcs are wandering around. You know.
You know, that would be a really interesting legendary server, and I would really enjoy it, I think. But I don't know that I would make it to the live ones.
Yeah, I agree. It's a crazy dream.
I have a feeling that if they had a legendary server like that, I'm most likely not going to be on it.
Totally fair, but I would report back, because it would be kind of epic.
Yes. Also, Audacity Changes. Audacity has been reimagined and made more important than ever. Each side in the Entmoors now has 36 ranks of Audacity. Free players get Audacity through the acquisition of gear, including a new set of armor and jewelry available for commendations at Glandreich. Monster players earn ranks of Audacity by spending commendations at their corruptors within Gramsfoot. Because of the reliance and necessity of Audacity, we have reduced the cost to train Audacity from ranks 1 to 24. And the reduction reflects the need to move to rank 25 quickly, overcoming the negative impact of outgoing damage and increased incoming damage. At rank 25, Audacity, all players reach parity and break even with neither bonus nor negative impacts. From 26 to 36, there are incremental gains improving the outgoing damage and reducing incoming damage. Moving forward, you will need Audacity to survive in the Entmoors, and to augment that need, we have added new tinctures that increase Audacity by 5 ranks for 60 minutes in real time. Tinctures are acquired for either combinations or mithril coins at barter NPCs found at their respective main bases. These tinctures stack into tens and have a cooldown of 60 minutes to match their duration. The tinctures are not bound to your rank in PvP.
In other words, they still gotta pay for this, and so they've made Audacity way harder? I don't know.
They made the early ranks harder, and then but it sounds like that they made
It says
the
they
later
made
ranks.
they made the early ranks easier.
Right.
But, like, the monster characters should just start at 25. Like, we can't just go buy gear. We have to buy, like, one level at a time of Audacity, And I was just getting to the point where my Audacity was feeling pretty good, but I'm pretty sure it's only around like 14. So, yeah, that's gonna be a problem. I don't know. That's gonna be like, now this is what you spend your mithril coins on. And I don't really
Your
want to do
problems with
that.
Audacity are outrageous. Sorry.
I mean,
I just love the
we'll see how
concept.
it goes, but this seems like a
I feel like the
interesting
next step will
change.
be audacious radiance.
Maybe.
Oh,
Can I like radiate darkness on my warg?
Oh, that would be wouldn't that be awesome if you could just deck your warg out in solid gold?
Or maybe I could have like the shadows. What are they?
Yeah, the shadow of the Entomors.
Right. Like I could like emanate shadow from my warg. That would be pretty cool. Except
that would
then
be
people
cool.
might
I'm
find
sorry,
me.
that
I don't
would
want
be-
them to find me.
Yeah.
But
Inky darkness with just your eyes showing. That'd be pretty cool.
Also, we are adding new racial, class, skill, and corruption bundles to the store at a reduced cost to encourage new monster players. And for the discerning elder monster players, we are adding a new appearance for each monster class. Is it Poodleworks?
I mean, Poodleworks would be kind of cool. But like as a discerning monster player, I feel like giving me bonus Audacity would be even better.
Well, I would almost think that Poodle Wargs were too much for Saruman. He was like, okay, you know what, I'm willing to corrupt elves, but boy, Poodle Wargs, no, we're not going to experiment in that way.
I don't know.
That's
Have you ever
terrifying.
met poodles in real life? Some of them are very high strung and snippy.
Exactly. So why would you want to combine that with a warg? It would be like forging a very furry One Ring.
I don't know, they've got Poodle Wargs roaming around outside Minas Tirith and beyond.
Oh, that's terrible. I don't even want to think about that. Oh, wow.
Maybe they can tolerate the light better.
Yeah. Here's one. Next one is heel tagging is removed. Yes, the practice known as heel tagging is gone. Players outside of fellowships or raids no longer earn infamy, renown, or commendations when healing a player who defeated an opponent in the Etmors. To get recognition for the defeat, a player must deal at least 2% of the damage to the target or be part of the fellowship or raid that defeats the target. There is a known issue with the heel tagging fix right now that we're working on, and it may not be present until we're preview uploaded in the next day or so. So there were some testing issues in there that they just want to talk about, but it looks like that the intent is that heel tagging will no longer be allowed in the Moors.
Which really kind of stinks if you are running solo and trying to like level like Defiler. But just don't heal anybody, I guess. Like, sorry, you're gonna die. Peace.
The lesson is never help.
That could be part of the
heel tagging
intent.
was making some people mad, but I feel like there should be a way for your contribution to be healing the person who's going to die if you don't heal them. Like, actually be present in the fight healing them, but, like, not have to be in the same fellowship with them or raid, especially since that caps at, like, 24. I don't know.
Well, maybe they're trying to... I don't know whether the main thing is because so many people were heel tagging that they were getting inflated too many combinations, or if it's a case where they wanted to discourage.
Well, I know there's some people who will just, like, heal people who are running out the doors and then they get commendations, and I don't think you should be able to do that. But I think that if you're in the middle of a battle and you're trying to keep somebody else alive, that you should still get rewarded for your part in that, even if it's not dealing damage. And maybe they just don't have the tools to make that happen, and so that's why they're like, hey, that doesn't count, like, just let them die. But
I agree, Sans. It's probably like an all or nothing. that they don't really have any. They can't filter it in any way. They either have to have it
Right,
on
but
or
I think
off.
it should be like your heal happened like during this battle, then you get credit.
Yeah, I'd rather err on the side of the player on that one. Frankly, I'd like if it's going to fall either way.
But then again, there's some players who are
give them
like
the notification,
right. But then there's been some issues with players feeling like that the rewards are actually split, so that if somebody heals them, then they get fewer commendations than if somebody doesn't heal them. And I don't know if that's actually true or not, but if it is true, that shouldn't be happening. Everybody should be getting commendations.
That's true. Yeah,
like,
that you hit it
everybody
right on the
gets
head.
gold from a kill on landscape. Everybody should get commendations from a kill in the moors, I think.
Yeah, and that it shouldn't diminish. I mean, it's just
it shouldn't diminish because there's more people. And I think there's probably a chance that it is diminishing right now, because I know there have been some kills that I've participated in that I've gotten like one commendation, and I'm like, well, what's the point in this? Like, I might as well spend my time questing, because I don't want one commendation for all the hard work that it took to take out this Bjorning or this captain or this duo runekeeper pair. Like, that's lame. So,
yeah, I agree. So I could see where people.
So if it's actually diminishing it, that would be a good reason to remove it.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if they can't tell, like, you're in the battle. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I like it when somebody random heals me and I'm about to die. And I appreciate it when I can do that for somebody else. And this feels like it's being like, hey, don't do that. So, I don't know.
Yeah, beyond the scope of grouping, I mean, that's kind of the visceral fun of being in the moors and being in those wild, gigantic melees, where you have a good potential of getting separated from your group at some point, and running off with somebody else, or getting a battle happens and suddenly you're far away from everybody, So, yeah, I agree.
And, like, I've been in groups where it's taken, like, 24 or more creeps to take down one freep. And I don't think there's any chance that that most of us are doing at least 2% of the damage. Like, even though we're having, like, maybe we end up doing 2% of the overall damage each. But, like, when it takes a whole crate to take out one freep, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, the battles where you had these two huge groups, and you were really nervous about the outcome, because it wasn't like, there's only 50 creeps there. We're gonna us 10 are easily gonna take them out. It was more like, oh, here they come.
Right. So, I guess we'll see how it works out. But in practice, like, what I'm hearing from this is, like, if you want to increase your infamy or renown, go questing, and then engage in battles, maybe on the side if you happen across one. I don't know.
We'll have to see. Conclusion. The Etmors is changing, and we all hope for the better. What I am really hoping for is a reinvigorated experience that drives players and monster players into conflict to each other. If we get the fun right and players return to the Etmors more often, then we'll have moved beyond the crossroads and have a clear path for the future. Welcome back to the Etmors.
So maybe they will make it more rewarding to kill enemy players. I don't know.
Yes.
We'll see.
Now, this thread...
Oh, it's fire.
Yes. It's 8 pages long, and the number of replies of
it's only 8 pages
responses
long.
from... It's only 8 pages long, but the number
that
of
came
Orion
out on
messages in there...
Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah, this came out on 28th. On the 28th. So that would be Tuesday. Right. So that came out on Tuesday, and Orion, on the dev tracker, the first 2 pages of the dev tracker, the majority of the messages on there are responses by Orion to various people's discussions on this thing. So he's heavily participating in this particular thread, and 8 pages worth of messages are being in. There are how many messages per page? 25, so that is getting close to 200 messages now that have been so far on here. So yes, it is, as you said, fire. I'm sure there's a lot of fire in here. I have not read this particular one closely, but it does sound like one that promises to be very hot, whether that's from the point of view of being very busy or from the point of view of being vitriolic. I'm not too sure, but which have you read it more closely than I have?
I read about the first maybe 3.5, 4 pages. It's doubled since the last time I looked at it. Yeah, I haven't looked, but there were people bringing up well thought out responses, and then there were the typical forum responses also.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean there's the heel tagging is upsetting some people and making other people happy. It's just as usual. There are always two sides to every story, and boy howdy, this one definitely is it.
All right. So it's one of those. It's a highly controversial set of changes. It sounds like based on the.
Well, I feel for Orion. I think he was the dev that was the most, I think, directly involved originally when they set up Monster Play, and came back to the company and is working on it again for them amongst other tasks that he is doing. And I think it's a thankless task, regardless of who you are.
Yeah.
It's the kind of environment that it's really hard to make everybody happy.
I suspect that's an understatement, but yes. All right. Thank you for your insight on that. So that's what's changing in Monster Play. Now, on top of the changes for brawlers and Monster Play, and of course the adventure of the twins, we also have some miscellaneous updates. The stats granted by the following traits have been adjusted to be more appropriate across all levels and increase above level 130. Man of the Fourth Age, Hobbit Stature, Faithful Dwarf, Friend of Man, Emissary, Unwritten Destiny, and those who remain. So I guess they decided that they needed to tweak the values on there. Of course, I had forgotten that they had updated because I was still thinking, right, those are fixed at 20, right? No. No, I think they changed that about a year ago, didn't they? But looks like they're tweaking those stats again. And of course, allowing it to go past 130 because I guess because the level cap was 130 when they originally updated them to scale instead of being fixed at 20 like they were for how many years? 13, 14 years, something like that. Pets can no longer be in the aggressive stance, which has been removed. Pets can be set to the aggressive stance, have been reset to the guard stance.
That seems potentially annoying.
I don't really get that at all. It sounds like they're trying to make up for people's inability to actually control their pets. So,
or like make it so that you never want to go dating on a lore master.
Yeah. You've got a great point, actually.
I mean, that would be when I would use it, or like when I was collecting materials and I didn't want to be attacked by something. But I would have to be over level a little bit for the area for that to work. And then the rest of the time, I'd have to just be responsible and control my pet.
And plus, it was fun sometimes
or
to go to a low level area, set my herald to aggressive, and just watch him kill everybody.
I don't know.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's a weird change.
But anyway, yes, pets will no longer be But they sometimes have this weird time on deciding when to attack and when not to. I guess maybe that they're afraid that all these hobbits will not be able to control their pets properly.
Well, and think about...
Well, they should just give us saddles.
But think about all the comedy moments we would miss as well, where we had the classic happening in the Hidden Horde, where Finn had his pet set to aggressive. So after we pulled that one group, the pet ran right up the stairs and activated the other group while we were still getting ready. And that won't happen anymore. And if that doesn't happen anymore, then how are we going to have any more fun stories to tell? It is pretty spectacular from time to time, having been a tank and having tank awareness is when everybody's sitting around after, it's like, okay, we're taking a break before the big pull. And you're sitting there just kind of whistling, kind of watching over everybody as you are the guard, so, and then you just see somebody's pet just kind of start running and you're like, oh, okay, pet's running. Hey, the pet's running away. Hey, the pet's running right towards oh my goodness. And so then you have to spring it to action. So I'll miss those moments.
Well. Oh, the joys of pet class.
Warm, relaxing feeling followed by sheer terror.
Hey, wait a second. You're not supposed to.
Yes. I remember one time in a different game where I was playing a pet class, and after we cleared out a particular area, we were told that we were supposed to jump down in order to go into our next area. I was like, oh, wait a minute, my crab is going to go try to find us and aggro everything along in the passage. And he told me, oh no, I chose the path specifically so that your pet will go down an empty area. He chose our path up so that we killed everything that the crab could possibly aggro on its way back down to meet us, because I think that WoW didn't have a skill to say summon back to master.
That's superb planning then.
Yeah, that was superb planning.
That was wonderful, yeah.
Yes. Now, the recovery period for player CC breakout skills has been substantially reduced, and in most cases is now nearly immediate. Class CC removal skills with substantial animations have generally had these removed in favor of visual effects only. Cry of the Hunter still has some delay, but should be faster as well. And I'm sure a lot of people will be happy about this, considering how long those
can be.
The cooldowns on some of those are.
Though I'm also thinking about like monster players. Like, less chance for noms, but probably good overall for Freeps.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know how annoying it was that, especially considering how very often when I use a get out of CC thing onto it, all it really buys me is 2 or 3 seconds at the most. And yeah, usually I get stunned again well before that thing is off cooldown. So yes, that would be nice. Here comes the next controversial one. Raid groups playing in landscape will no longer benefit from open tapping, and will also no longer receive money, loot, XP, reputation, quest advancement, or deed advancement from monster kills in landscape.
Is this a multiplayer game or not? And do they want us to make friends?
Yeah, that's weird.
Now, this is the...
Like, and then what are they going to do with all the raid monsters? Like the Roving Threats and the Nazgul? Like, can I solo them all now on level? Like, what's the point of this?
Well, first off, I suspect if you're in a raid, if it's a raid monster, at least one person on both. Yes. Well, first off, if you've got a monster that's powerful enough to need a raid to take it down, you're going to have at least one member in each of the fellowships of the raid who's going to be hitting that monster at least once.
That's how the open tapping in a raid works right now.
Oh, I thought open tapping in a raid worked.
No, each fellowship has to tap it for it to work right now.
Each fellowship that's how it currently works.
That is how
That's how much I know about raids.
Like, if you're
So
just in the raid, you don't get credit unless your fellowship also is participating in the kill.
okay.
So you already have to... But, like, at least you can still communicate with the whole group in chat.
Right.
But now they're saying, like, you don't get anything for it. And then what about the new areas when the mobs aren't respawning fast enough, or they're respawning too fast, and you need to get through, and so you make the random groups with the other players who are doing it. Now you can't do that either.
Yeah,
like,
what a nightmare. What a nightmare for that stuff that takes like 5 minutes for it to reappear. And only one person, or, and once it's dead, oh my goodness. Yeah, that's exceedingly frustrating to think about that. I'm trying to think about it from, I've watched a lot of Vikings stuff lately.
It just hit me open tapping is
this means, like, if we're on the field trip and 7 people show up, we can't do anything with the whole group of 7 on landscape.
Let's see, because open tapping.
Well, then you have 2 fellowships instead of 1 raid, right? I guess.
Hopefully fellowships still work. I don't...
Well, because if you have 2 separate fellowships, because of open tapping.
I'm trying to...
And, like, you convert your group to a raid for something, but then most of the people drop out. You have to, like, disband and reform just so that you guys get credit for things.
Yeah,
again.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this now, because I had thought I understood what it meant before, but now I'm wondering. Wait a minute, because open tapping is the thing that allows any group to get credit get credit for the same monster. Without open tapping, the first group that picks on it is the one that gets credit for it.
So does this mean, like, 1 fellowship in the whole raid gets credit? Does this mean anybody who's in the raid gets 0 credit? Does this mean that if a raid starts a fight first, any single players who show up don't get any credit? Does this mean that, like, if a solo player started something, but a raid comes by, like, everybody's out of credit, like when the guard takes over shooting something? I don't know.
Yeah, could somebody, like, just be a total jerk and, like, hit everything once? And then, be running from it, and then he just denies everybody else. Oh my god! I'm thinking about this from a historical perspective too, Sans. So just like a Vikings raid, where you get together your raiders, and you're like, okay, we're going to go over there, and we're going to kill everybody, but you're not going to take anything. You're not going to touch anything. We're not going to eat any of their food or take any of the plunder, and we're just going to leave.
Well,
I'm not interested in going.
I'm thinking about, like, how they've changed it for guards sometimes, and I'm, like, picturing groups of raids out, like, just turning all the mobs gray on people because they're so frustrated that open tapping doesn't work for them anymore. I don't know, though, because
down experience gathering across the entirety of Middle Earth.
Right?
No one can gather experience.
Like, this really stinks for, like, kin raid nights. But beyond that, this seems really, really weird for an MMO, and I didn't have a chance to actually fix Bull Roar to see how it was working, but it's already difficult enough to get credit in a raid for open tapping, so I'm really, really curious and not very happy about this right now.
Yeah, I guess I have to truly understand what this means, because it sounds horrid and weird. Just weird. It's just, what a strange concept. If you get together in a large group, you do not collect anything. No, I think historically, if people got together in big groups, they usually were able to do whatever they wanted.
Well, and as you led with, Sans, it's like, are we in an MMO or not? I mean,
yeah.
Great for me who sometimes ends up doing things by myself, but then again, kind of defeats the purpose of, like, setting up kin activities to help people with deeding, or it just
Now
I don't get it.
I know that one of the problems that they had is that I know at one point that they had that the intended way things were supposed to be happening was that when you were in a raid, it was supposed to be impossible to advance a non-raid quest. that was how it was originally envisioned several years ago. They changed that because people used that behavior as an exploit during the anniversary. And so they changed it so that you would advance a quest from a raid. And I think this is where the change to it, though, was the main focus of the reason why they are doing this, is because they really don't want people to be advancing quests, non-raid quests, while in a raid. But now we're able to isolate it so that it'll only affect on monster kills, and so that if someone opened up an anniversary envelope in a raid, you will still advance that quest. I have a feeling that they were trying to get back to where it was before, except without the exploit that they had in the anniversary several years back. But the CCP go a lot further than where it was
the
before.
Ability to group in raids if that's what they wanted. Like, hey, you're not like signed up for this raid thing, so like you can't be in a raid. Like, just run around with all your friends and everybody try to get a tap in. Like, I mean, they've made the raid pointless outside of an instance. Basically.
Or roving threats, because roving threats are raid.
It doesn't say that roving threats are excluded from this, though. It says landscape. Well, and roving threats are on the landscape in low-level areas and high-level areas.
Going to have we'll have to see what their clarification is when they get through. So I'm sure
yes, SSG, please clarify for us.
Please clarify
what is your intent here, and how is this actually functioning? Because we have questions.
Yes, we have questions. We have no idea what exactly is going on here. And yes, we would like an answer to it. I'm hoping that maybe if anyone in chat actually tests this out. No, it doesn't sound like it. We have some people with some choice words, but it doesn't sound like that they've actually had an opportunity to test what is going on in there. So let us then go to the next one. The barter vendor, overseer, hidden horde raid reward vendor found in Zitternesad, the steep set in Madagard, will now barter raid gear for embers if you have completed the hidden horde raid at the necessary tier. So that means if you keep on getting the wrong boots dropped, you could now barter for the right boots for embers.
How about if you don't get any boots to drop?
Well, that's, even more so.
I'm all for booting the bootless.
Booting the bootless.
Troubling deaf heaven with our bootless cries.
Some player level based stat progressions were tweaked a bit to smooth out the values below 105. Fixed a bug that reduced a player's mastery slightly against lower level foes. Hunter, upshot damage trace read no longer erroneously double applies to devastating hits.
Rats. I mean, I didn't know it was happening in the first place, but I've seen some of those upshots that just like obliterate on level or higher foes.
That explains some of the.
I haven't had any myself because I'm too heavily started in the blue line for that. But I've run with some people and just watched them and been like, maybe I should be redline now.
Now you're glad you didn't switch over?
At least not just for that, yeah.
Yeah. The dynamically scaling stats on the following items have been adjusted to a more appropriate across all levels and increase above 130. Shields of the hammer, shields of the Hammerhand, earrings of the High Elves, earrings of the Dead City, and Fateful Gundabad earrings. Okay, you mean these things that I threw away because I reached level 130?
Yeah, probably. But you have lower level characters, at least on the field trip thing.
Actually, there is this thing called /recover, I think, but I think it tends to give you more than you really
why
intended.
would you? Yeah, why would you? I don't know if that's worth paying the price.
Yes,
I'll get the one thing back, but
but
I will never have inventory space ever again, ever.
that's what killed me about making a new character recently was
Oh.
just opening up the inventory and going, okay, if I open all the boxes here, I have immediately filled my inventory to its brim with a bunch of crap.
yes, and now I think that were there also copies of those things in the extra ones that we got for the 15th anniversary? Though,
Yeah, you're right, because we all got, because I got like an extra copy of stuff.
Yeah, we got an extra copy of those things. Now, unfortunately, on my Hunter, when we were playing Field Trip yesterday, I actually tossed a group of those away. Saying, "Oh, okay, I don't need this anymore."
Yeah, you want to get your inventory. You're just like, oh my, I can't believe my inventory is filled up again.
Yes. All right. Well, I guess we'll just have to see about that particular item in there. So it looks like that they are going to have those things scale up then. And also, name restrictions have been loosened around words similar to Defender.
Oh, can I finally live my dream? I wanted to name my Lord Master's wolf pet GRRRR Martin. Grr Martin. And it wouldn't let me. I wonder if I could do it now.
Well, that one I think is going to break the consecutive consonant rules if there is such a rule in LOTRO.
How dare you question me, Pine Leaf?
Is where you can't have more than 2 in a row.
Krister, you need to make a warg and run with this and name it Grr Martin.
Oh, I wonder. I didn't even test the monster play aspect.
Now, my question is, now it says similar to Defender, so I guess that means that the word needle is still going to be disallowed?
Can always try.
Yeah, I guess I should try that next time Bulwer is up. Remembered Rivals feature instance gear now binds to account rather than to character. The White Goose cosmetic pet now correctly appears in the collections panel. All right, that's good because I have a character that has that pet.
I was going to say, was it being horrible and hiding?
Most likely. Yes. The item Slayer and Skill Deed Boost 90 minutes now lasts for 6 hours and its name is, of course, updated appropriately.
Woohoo. That'll make the lore master cooldowns or like what do you call it? That time that you have to casting times, less painful. Because you're not like, man, I'm wasting my whole 90 minutes casting this 2 spells.
Yes.
It's not quite that bad, but sometimes it feels like it when you come off a character that moves faster.
And the items Tome of the Greater Deed Acceleration and Slayer Deed Acceleration 60 minutes now last for 6 hours and, of course, has been renamed appropriately. And sealed tracery boxes will once again deliver traceries to level 45 to 49 characters. And the worth of municipal herbs has been corrected to a copper value appropriate for a farmed ingredient, and the plural name has been corrected to remove the reference to pouches. Okay. Whatever. On the world, Forsting in Gundaban has been repositioned slightly to no longer fall through the floor.
Forsting will probably appreciate that.
Yes, I'm sure he will. All right. Ambient music now works on the exterior of 5 Cape Road in Belfast. Visiting bankers and barbers can now be placed in yard hooks in Erebor. Hooks in 8 Long Street and 6 Chestnut Street in Breland homesteads now align correctly to the terrain. Doormat on 1 Philly Lane in Kingstead now aligns correctly with the terrain. And this Z fighting in Gunabad has been resolved. I think they really needed a hyphen between the Z and fighting in there because I was just
Probably.
attempting
The
to
fighting.
pronounce that as a single word.
Fighting.
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 Fighting, yes. And there are also several localization fixes, which you could peruse yourself if you are affected. And those are the updates. It took me an hour to go through that list. Yeah, so quite a bit there, quite a bit that was being discussed in there. And I am sure that some of these are going to be discussed quite spiritedly in the forums over the next couple of weeks as they prepare this in beta on Bulwer, and I guess some of these things might be a good idea to check out, such as
The
name
raid
restriction
stuff.
changes and stuff like that.
I'm gonna have to actually find space on my computer to re-download Bullroar. It sounds like.
Just so you have a chance to
test this. Yeah.
Yeah, because a couple of things in here, and maybe there'll be a clarification with next week's update in there after they review the feedback. And we'll see what they do. And if anything gets reverted or anything like that. Because sometimes proposed changes become unproposed. Also, they also made a note that Treebeard and Shadowfax have been updated. Treebeard now has a level cap of level 65, so they headed into Mirkwood and I presume also into Enid-Wythe. And then Shadowfax reached level 100, so that would be Gondor. So they're making their... Well, one of them is making a slow walk to level cap, and the other one is making a full gallop to it, right? And that concludes our game news for this week. So let's head into our store sales. And Guarandis, what's on sale this week?
On sale this week, double bonus points are back. That is through July 10th, so until the end of the festival. Stand out from the crowd, get 25% off. Select shared wardrobe slots, select cosmetic outfit slots, mounted combat trait specs and cosmetic slots, and select cosmetics. That's through the July 7th. And summer sales are back. There's going to be special deals each week in July. This week it is 35% off trace-free reclamation scrolls, 50% off of the Brawler, 75% off the Steed of the White City. That's the account-wide one, so a very pretty horse for account-wide. That's through July 7th also. And the weekly coupon is a scroll of perfect crafting lore with the coupon code Delve Deep, which I think that is finally working right. I think it was originally supposed to be something else, and there was a bug, and that's what we're getting instead. So
yeah,
type in Delve Deep at the store and see what you get.
yeah, it was supposed to be something else originally. They found out it wasn't. Then they couldn't change it, so they decided to change the copy text to say what it was actually giving, rather than trying to change what it was giving you.
Would it be terrible if you spent like 6,000 points and then it just said you delved too deep and didn't give you anything?
Oh. No, something terrifically awful should be unleashed when you do that, right? I mean, if the dwarves are any indication anyway.
Yeah.
You get your own Balrog! Krister, I know you want to ride a dragon, but what about a Balrog?
But that wouldn't be a punishment.
Yeah, he wants
For
a.
the Balrog or for you?
Well,
oh well, I guess you're right. If we put it,
he's going to turn into
for the
Balrog
Balrog, it
bites.
would be horrible. I have to
I
go to
mean-
where?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. Look at it this way. Pine's right. You could turn it into Balrog bites. It's a free bump of food supply for your restaurant.
Let's into our weekend gaming. Krister, what were you up to?
Well, it was all quiet on the Hidden Horde front last night. We were doing a bye week because of the holiday, and I obviously didn't know how to spell or conceive of what a bye week was, and explained it poorly, and got lambasted for it. So last night I went ahead and polished Krister just a little bit more. I took a good hard look at his gear, did some improvements, and then I think this coming Friday, we're going to take a stab at doing the boss one on T2. And I know we've been talking a lot about requirements and whatnot, but we don't want to. I don't want to not include anybody either. So I think we'll play it loose so we can get everybody in there, because everybody that's been playing for a while does understand the tactics. So I think now it's just a matter of us getting some luck in the fight, and then being able to do that. So we're going to give that a shot, but just basically did a little bit of tinkering this week. And then in ESO, Exploding Orc is still dealing with the massive gambling debts he's incurred through that tribute game. So he's dealing with that. And we started a Minecraft server up. And of course, anytime my Minecraft nerve gets agitated, then I have to play the voxel games for a bit. So, of course, I started goofing around with Minecraft, and then got Starship Evo out and started building the spaceships again. And so that's been my week. What about you?
Well, in LOTRO, it's mostly been festivaling on Landerval, especially my new characters, my brawlers particularly, that had not been around for last year's festival. Also, the festival of the White Lady was wonderful. Went off without a hitch, although we are all contemplating bearskin rugs for our houses. Also in LOTRO, I boosted Gware on Honor, the copy I had basically on Honor, to get the rest of the portrait frames she hadn't earned yet before things closed down in August. And then did the epic through Helm's Deep and experienced the story quest for the first time. The Storied Tales version, which is very interesting, a lot less hassle, and great if you've Valored a character and already have the points. Anyway, and I then also did the Limelight Gorge, because both of those are deed locked. You have to complete basically West Rohan up through the end of like Helm's Deep. To get one of the frames, the portrait frames, and then the Limelight Gorge, it's just basically you have to do all the deeds in there. So yeah, I've got those. I've got all kinds of new shinies that are good on all the other worlds there. I wanted to kind of get the ones I hadn't achieved yet before Honor closed down.
What? Limelight Gorge has a portrait frame?
Yes. It's actually the Great River one, but you have to do the Limelight Gorge, basically. It's
in order to get the Great River.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very pretty. In ESO, I have a new orc that sometimes isn't an orc. I created a new orc, and then Sanswinda's character gave me a werewolf bite.
Oh, okay.
And it's a lot of fun, although I like still trying to do stuff just in regular Sork orc. It's an exploding orc, Krister.
I
It's a baby
appreciate this.
exploding orc. Yes, and it's stam, so because stamina is good for orcs, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I got Murgmire fever. We took the werewolf, the Warks, I don't know, the werewolf orcs to Murkmire, and we did a little bit of it, and I really love that zone. I love the storytelling. I blasted through it on Sedessa. We can still do it on our werewolves if you want to, Sans, or we can switch to something else. But yeah, I blasted through Murkmire. I love Murkmire.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Yes, I love the stories. I love the characters. Argonians are funny as all get out. Yeah, I love Murkmire. Anyway, that's pretty much what I've got up to, was just like a whole bunch of time on Honor and then a whole bunch of time in Murkmire. Sans, what did you get up to this week?
Well, on Arkenstone, my minstrel Sanswinda finally made it to Mordor on the field trip, which has been many years in the making. So that was kind of cool. And she was overleveled and everything and could immediately start allegiances. And so we went to the newest allegiance first. But that was pretty fun. And did some Murkmire questing. Sorry about that. I did some Murkmire questing and Skyshard hunting in ESO, which I was telling you before Zablob pulled the plug on my mic. And he claims innocence, but he was totally the one who did that.
Well, Zablog's a warg, right? So
he's totally a warg pup. And in Final Fantasy XIV, I unlocked the Extreme Trial horse mounts, a whole bunch of them, and an extra legendary steed for getting all of them with the help of a higher level friend, which was a lot of fun. And I was starting to learn some of the mechanics and stay alive too, which was also fun. And the horses look really cool, and they glow, and are amazing nighttime mounts. So, Pineleaf, how was your week?
Right, I'll begin with my Honor Warden, who reached the current level cap on Honor, so level 130. So that milestone is reached. I guess that's I don't know if that's the last time I could hit level cap when it's on the Legendary Worlds, or if I don't know whether there's going to be one more level bump before they move the characters, or if they're going to bump it up, give you a week in which to try to get to level cap and then move us over. I'm not too sure which is going to be the case. So
they're going to be moving you over for free anyway, so I'm just kind of holding off on doing too much towards the end, and I'll just do the leveling on the live server. I renamed that Guer so that I could bring her over to whatever server I want.
Well, my thing on there is I do want to finish the Black Book of Mordor on Honor, because that's the storyline that I am doing, because I'm doing a storyline series on that. So and I figured that would be a good place which to do my cutoff. I'm not going to do the War of Three Peaks on Honor or anything like that, but I think right after I finish Black Book of Mordor, then I'll do the wedding, and then we'll call it there. But anyway, I've reached level 130, so that was a nice milestone on there. And of course, that meant that I've now have the Minas Morgul portrait frame. Yes, he has a Minas Morgul portrait frame to add it up to my list. So I think I've got most of it. Obviously, I don't have the Great River one because I didn't know that there was this one that required you to do the. I don't think I even.
Well, if you're at 130 now, Moonlight Gorge will be fine. If anything, you have to remember to auto attack the spiders when you're going to do the actual quest there, because otherwise the little venomous ones that you need for part of the quest will not spawn unless you leave the big one alive for a while. Pro tip.
All right, I'll have to think on that one, on whether or not I want to go through the trouble. I guess maybe if I see what it looks like, to see if it's going to be worth the hassle of going back. And my brawler quested in the Norcrofts. So I was doing Elthangles, and actually I was spending most of the time up in Cliving. working for the Reeve there, who I wonder if anyone has a good opinion of that Reeve.
He has a good opinion of himself, probably.
Oh, he has a good opinion of himself. Yeah. I guess you get a point there. I mean, yes. Okay, Enos probably. No, Edith probably has a good opinion of him, but she can be forgiven because she is his daughter. So, so she is a little biased on that account. And in ESO, I went and defeated several world bosses. I managed to do all the ones in Glenumbra. Since Glenumbra is the first zone in there, they were the relatively easy ones that are in there, which meant that I could just start the battle, then Isabel would grab it and will tank the boss, and then I will do damage, heal, damage, heal. And since I didn't need much of the healing in there, but it kept Isabel alive, and that made the fight easy to do on there because I was just able to heal without any trouble. I am now starting to think that maybe I should redo something on how I'm doing my skills, in that maybe I should have a heal skill that is stamina based instead of magicka based, because right now I do have a tendency of going a little bit overboard with my damage. Going a little bit overboard with your damage means that I do have a tendency to run out of juice in there. So maybe if I had the heal as a stamina based skill, I might be able to
or
be able to
shield,
still heal.
or do you use any like weapon abilities that I'm just thinking of with my Templar, with like I can switch it to a two-handed. There's a ability there that creates a shield that might help you.
Well, that's not no, but in this case, because that shield is personal for you. The healing, though, that I'm usually worse off on my juice and needing to heal is when Isabel needs healing. So that's not going to help me. So I don't.
Are there any sets available that do do something where, depending on how many opponents are around you, you get X amount of magicka per?
Well, I'll have to go and check on that matter. I think it's just a balance on how I'm using my skills. Fortunately, I do have a weapon skill that is magicka based, so I could just spam that skill or at least do damage when I remember that I have that skill in there. So I'm more worried about my inability to do healing, because if I'm taking a bashing and I've used up all of my magicka, I can't heal, I can't heal. So maybe I could do that, because I want to avoid swapping to a restoration staff so that I could have weapon skill. So I would have to do my healing through there. Well, I'll be thinking. I'll just start thinking about today on what I might be able to do to adjust my skills so I could play around with that. And maybe once I have a good idea of how I want to balance my skills, then I can.
Yeah, sometimes it's frustrating that you only got 5. You know, it's sometimes you wish you had more quick slots, basically. You know.
Well, maybe I could. I'm again thinking, because I had this idea a few months back of having my secondary line, my back bar being a sword and shield. And while it all makes point of sense, and well, if you're going to have a second weapon with you, have one that's easily portable, such as a sword. I mean, thinking maybe I want to go back to having a staff on the off slot anyway, and maybe do something along that line. I guess I'll have to think on that still. Time for some experiments. That's what it is. Time for some experiments. And now that I'm done with the bulk of the of High Isle. Maybe it's time for doing that. But this time, what I did is I went around defeating world bosses, and that way I was able to finish up Glenumbra. I finally have everything except fishing finished in Glenumbra. How many years did that take me? And I also went and did some stuff in some older zones. And now that you were talking about Muckmire, I don't think I've ever quested in Muckmire series. I think I went there.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I think
Oh.
I've picked up a few. I think I might have picked up a few treasure chests there and maybe a couple of antiquities, but I don't think I've actually quested there. So I'm thinking maybe I should go back and do some stuff in that area. And
definitely, yeah.
make that as my zone of the month, so to speak. Try to finish that up.
Yeah,
by
Guerre
the end
was
of this
right on
month.
the money. Yeah, that's Murkmire is a great place to adventure, and the quest line in it is awesome.
And let me know when you want to go after the world bosses, because I'm not going to try to do those by myself.
Yeah. Now, concerning world bosses, I also noticed that in the adventurers tab, no, in the exploration tab from with the Daggerfall Covenant subtab, I have only 5 remaining exploration achievements that are left to do. And those are the 5 world bosses in Benelek, or however you pronounce that place.
Betnik?
Betnik, yes.
No, Betnik doesn't have bosses. Bankarai.
Bankarai, yeah, that's right, Bankarai. Yeah. So so those 5 world bosses are the only 5
Field trip.
Right.
Yep, exploding orc jerk
I-
available.
Yeah. I think there might be one more, and that is to finish all the world bosses. So in other words,
I'm still missing one in Stormhaven. I need to get Scragg's larger sometime.
and in fact,
We
I
didn't get to that one night.
Oh, which one?
Scragg's larder.
Yeah, I think I might have actually done that one to Ease. I know that I finished 2 of them in. Oh, no, actually, that was in Rivenspire where I did it. I think I also did one in Storm Haven today where I had one more that was left in there. So I did a couple of those today.
Would anybody want to go and do Titan Claw until I get the lead?
Oh, that's right. You're trying to get
Sure.
that lead. Yes.
Yeah.
we could do that. And anyway, so I was going after world bosses and cleaning out that area. And that is it for my gaming this week. We currently have 14 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join these illustrious rated players and help support LOTRO players, you can go to the donations page to support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money will be used for podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. If you would like to send us an email, you can send it to podcast@lotraplayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter. The Players Alliance @Players Alliance, Lotra Players @LotraPlayers, Arendis @Arendis, Pineleaf @PineleafNeedles, Senswinda @Senswinda, Terry Edwin @Terry Edwin, Guarendis @Guarendis, Calabathian @Calabathian, and Krister @EntropyEngine1. The Players Alliance has 2 shows on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. USC time via Lucha Players News, and DDO Players News is currently on hiatus, though that should be returning in about a month. You can join us for our shows in luchaplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight, and this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.